Welcome to a new video dedicated to a new Eachine brushless racer. It is nothing else than the upgrade of the famous Racer 250, and this is the Pro version. So basically they keep more or less the same chassis with some nylon arms, just the upper and the lower plates are in carbon, but they change most of the electronics. So now it comes with an SP Resting F3 board, a 1000 TVL CMOS FPV camera with the possibility to adjust the up tilt. We have now some 20 ampere ESC, barely S and D shot 600 ready, some strong 2205 motor announced to be 2300 kV, okay, and on the rear side a very strong FPV ring, 600 milliwatts video transmitter, 40 channel if I'm not wrong, okay. So it's definitively all the electronics have been great. Let's have a look to this RTF packaging. Come with a FlySky solution supporting the FHDS2A protocol. Okay, here are all the elements you can find in the box. So let's start with the instruction manual. A basic color printed, but you will find just a few elements on it, not really interesting. So the basic characteristics. So as I said previously, some 20 ampere independence, no, not a 4-in-1 ESC board, that's great, and a 600 milliwatts 5.8 gigahertz battery for the RTF, a 1100, and it's a 4S edition, that's great. So even more power, 30C of discharge rate is mentioned. The weight and the dimension characteristics has the same model are 2005, okay. The announced flight time is about 8 minutes. Let's check that, and different how to insert the battery, not very interesting. And I would say that probably the last pages are the more interesting, where you will be able to find the flight controller on board layout with the UART3 and 1 if you want to, for example, install an S bus or some stuff like this receiver. Okay, so let's find also the other element, a very basic charger using the balancer plug, so announced to output up to 1 ampere. Avoid such kind of power charger with the associated power DC unit, okay. Use a more professional one, balancing much better the all the cells of your 4S LiPo. You have also the corresponding European socket adapter, a bag with a wrench tool to unlock the nuts, okay, of your to unlock definitively your prop, okay, the installation of the prop, a battery strap, okay, battery velcro to secure completely the installation of the battery on the top of the upper plate, and an M2 Allen keys, for example, to remove the upper plate if you need definitively to access to the electronics, okay. Nice packaging. What also you will find, a cloverleaf antenna, as you can see, where you have a flexible sting, that's great. It's an RP-ACME connector, it's a right circular polarization antenna, okay. We will discuss a little bit more about the installation on the antenna, especially more for the RP-ACME connector of the quadcopter. Coming with the transmitter, a nice for rechargeable NEMH battery, 2400. It's a great offer because it's really nice to have such kind of rechargeable, okay, in an RTF packaging. You have everything out of the box. Two set of battery, and some of them, they are very pitchy, I would say. They are exactly some 5-inch model, some 5-inch 48 if I'm not wrong. So it's pretty pitchy, and the angle, as you can see, it's very curvative, so it should boost the general performances. And let's give a weight of each of them. Okay, we have something around 5 grams, and the whole section is 5 millimeters, as corresponding to the motor thread. And we have this 4S battery, so 1100 mAh powers with 30C of discharge rate. Let's give the exact weight, and come with an XT60 connector. So for example, the weight of this one is about 119, almost 120 grams, and if you need some specific dimension of it, I will give in millimeters is around 72 by 35 by around 25. Okay, so it's very basic, no problem to install a 1300, 1500 on the quadcopter. As you can see, there is a lot of free room. Okay, no problem, at least 1 centimeter on the front side. Okay, no problem to install a more longer one, at least for 1 centimeter. Okay, so now let's focus a little bit more on the quadcopter, but I want to finish first with the transmitter. We have a basic FlySky i6, so rebranded by Eachine by i6 II, with 1, 2, 3 two-way switch position, and here we have the 3-way position, especially if you need to define several flight mode. 2 ports here, okay, and this one is very classic. Only 6 channel is supported. Okay, so by default, as we will see, the default assigned aux1, aux2 channel are the switch B and the switch C corresponding. So by default, such kind of radio don't offer to enter into the setup. So basically, you will need to press inner the lateral horizontal trim while powering. Okay, and then you will be able to enter into the setup. So we'll be able to see that the RX is supporting officially the AFHD S2 protocol. No Failsafe is done, at least for the transmitter part. So basically, the job is done by the receiver or by the flight controller. But anyway, we can do it also in the by security on the receiver. How to proceed? You have to press enter, then press up. Okay, be sure that to apply the throttle you want value, so here to 0, and long press cancel, and now it's done. Long press cancel again, and it's saved, as you can see. So we apply a Failsafe, but we'll test in any case if it's working. So let's enter into the menu, check a little bit of some other properties. We have the firmware 2.0, very hot one, and now go more to the setup. Check that on the display we have the channel 6, which is the switch B, and the channel aux5, aux1, which is the switch C here, okay, with 3 position, no other channel, okay. In terms of what I checking, channel 5 is switch C and channel 6 is switch B, and in terms of subtrim, everything should be centered. So if in CleanFly or Betaflight, your channel are not perfectly centered, play with this subtrim, okay, to be centered around 1500. And no gyro rate, okay, we can use maybe this one. I strongly advise for beginners to use this switch A to apply maybe a beginner rate. So I strongly advise to apply more on channel 1 and 2. So for example, how to proceed? Channel 1 is selected. We can press OK to go to the rate, then press down, okay, until your value. So I strongly advise something around 70%. Okay, long press cancel to save. Now let's check that. As you can see, we will do the same with the channel 2. Okay, and press OK to go to the rate and decrease to 70. And long press cancel to save. One more time. Let's check that. Channel 1, channel 2, and let's check the channel 1. Okay, is working fine. So not under channel 4 for the radar is, in my point of view, is useless. So we apply all these settings, okay, and the other can be, for example, in CleanFly or Betaflight to harm the quadcopter for the switch D, for example. So now let's focus a little bit on the quadcopter. So we have the same chassis than the Eachine Racer 250. So with such flexible arms, okay, nylon base. As you can see, it's flexible, so the main question will be robust to a big lateral crash. I'm afraid not. But even if part of the kinetic energy will be absorbed by the flexibility of the arm. So for moderate, it could be a nice solution for very, very strong crash, no miracle. So there is a trade-off between flexibility and the resistance to crash. So I hope the nylon structure will be strong enough. But let's check a little bit the thickness of the lower plate covered by a piece of foam, a sponge. So this one is only 1mm25 as well as the upper plate, so not so much more. So I'm a little bit afraid that the lower part, especially in the rear, look that mechanically nothing is protecting and you can bind it very easily. I'm afraid that the PCB will crack somewhere around with a very hard shock. Okay, so it's in terms of structure, I'm raising some caution about the solidity, more on the lower plates. Anyway, let's have a look. So we have the same aluminum red camera support, and as I said in my introduction, now the 1000 TBL camera can be adjusted in terms of angle, tilt angle. That's great, but look that if I'm applying a very strong one, more than I would say 30 degrees, you can see that the signal, the video signal, will be blocked by the upper part of the frame of the camera mount. That's really a drawback. So what to do? Not remove the aluminum, because it will render the structure much more fragile. Maybe to with a saw to cut it like this. You will remove part of the occlusion of the field of view like that. So it's definitively a drawback that didn't upgrade this camera support as soon as they decided to install an up-table camera. Okay, so the camera is a CMOS 1000, and you have on the rear a small button to turn here exactly on rear side. Okay, you have a small button white here to select the NTSC or the PAL format. So here we have on the right side all the ports are used, okay, and the more interesting will be on the left, where you will be able to find the micro USB connector, where you will be able to connect it to CleanFlight. And this SPF3 board is flashed with a very old version of CleanFlight. That's a really drawback. And on the nearby, on the left, this is the PWM connection, because they install a very old FlySky receiver using a full 6 wires PWM connection. Why not they didn't use S-bus or I-bus connection to save some weight, to save some cabling, etc. So probably because they have still a remaining stock of such a receiver. Anyway, this model is got 2 antenna diversity pre-installed like this through the camera action cam support. So I'm not sure it's a very good location. I strongly advise more to install it vertically, okay, if you don't plan to install an action cam. But whatever, if you install on this dampening board the camera, you don't have any angle, uptilt angle, so you will have to design your own camera action cam support with an inclination to be compatible with fast forward movement. So here we can install the battery, as I said, and the battery will slip a bit, okay, slide a bit, so definitely need to tape this Velcro band here to secure completely the installation. On the rear side here, all this plate is the video transmitter. And as you can see, no problem to attach the cloverleaf antenna, and as I will do right now, because I will start to power the machine. So never forget to install at least an antenna to your video transmitter to not kill it. Okay, so it's an RPA-SMA connector, and look that in case of crash, all the stress of the crash will be on this RPA-SMA connector. So be sure, versus time, this connector installed on the video transmitter will break for sure. So what to do is probably why they didn't install it more horizontally, okay, and because it would have been a much more clever choice. So be sure of it. Anyway, you have a small mic here, so the sound is recording, and here you have this red button. So if this one is shortly pressed, you can adjust the position of the basic OSD information display, such as the battery voltage and the current VFREC selected, and if you long press on it more than 2 seconds, you will cycle between the 40 channels supported. Okay, so it's pretty long to select your target VFREC, but it's like this. So actually, I say to the default Boscam E4, if I'm not wrong. On the rear side, you have some 3-position dip switch used to select one of the color, 7 color of the 3 LEDs bar. So by default, when all the switch are turned down, the switch are turned off. Okay, so you need at least to activate to turn on one of these switch to have the light. It's exactly the same here. To turn on the front LEDs here, by default you have to turn onto the right position this micro switch. This one in the center is be aware is to turn off the receiver. It's crazy, but it's like this. So probably what used to be, for example, to turn off, I don't know, the something else. But be aware to check that this one is always in the default position on the left. If you, for example, discover that you cannot bind your transmitter, check this one if it's not been installed, turn to the right by accident. Okay, so let's turn on the machine and you will see the lights. So be sure that your antenna is connected, and we will check also if the Failsafe is working, okay, by default. So let's turn on the quadcopter. Be sure to have the prop off in any case. Okay, as you can see, no light is turned on by default, so you have to press this front one, okay, and you have the very bright one, so it's great, ideal for night flight. I will turn on the radio to stop the buzzer. Okay, so immediately we stop the buzzer to ring because the binding is done. And if you need to have a rear LEDs, let's touch one of these dip switch, for example. So if I'm selecting the 1 and 3rd, I will have blue, and if all of them are turned on, it's white. And for example, we can have something, I don't know what color, more magenta or blue, or okay, like this. So it's up to you. For example, keep like this. So they are not programmable through our Betaflight. That's probably a drawback right now. But anyway, it can be turned off as you want if you want to perform some night flight or flying with some competitors around you. Let's have a look to the camera rendition. Okay, and as I said previously, you should have some OSD information as soon as you press this red button. As you can see now, it's appearing on the display like this. So short press on the red button will go down the OSD information. And the last setting is to disappear it. So by default, we have the current selected channel and the actual battery voltage. That's great. Okay, it's a minimum, but very useful instead to play with your timer. I will disconnect it, and yes, the video transmitter is getting warm, so be aware of it. Okay, you will need to cool them with airflow, and I want to perform a last test. So I want to test how the Failsafe is working. So I will reconnect the battery, turn on the radio, okay, harm the machine, okay, and turn off the transmitter. 1, 2, but look that, he rearmed. So what's happened? So you have a kind of sporadic event. Let's turn on, okay, let's arm again. I don't know why I cannot harm it again. So let's check it again. Maybe the battery is off, but we will redo the same Failsafe test, but there is something strange happen. Okay. Arm, let's turn off. 1, 2, 3, and like this. After you have this strange behavior, and now it resumed to beeping. So maybe with the last version of Betaflight we will be able to change this behavior. Okay, so now it's time to check the default CleanFlight configuration, and you will see that we need a special version of the very old one to CleanFlight to check and all the settings. I will probably immediately flash Betaflight, the last current version, so 3.1.7 at this time, okay, and try to check the default BLLES configuration. Okay, so let's check in the last CleanFlight configuration, the setup, and if you press on connect, you will have this warning message that saying that finally the firmware installed on the SPF3 board is too old and you will need to install a very old CleanFlight configurator. So personally, I would directly install more Betaflight on it, and I will show now how to flash it. Okay, so go to the firmware flasher panel and be sure to select the right flight controller board, nothing else than the SP Racing F3, and choose the last available Betaflight version, so currently the version 3.1.7. Okay, and at least you will need to turn on the full ship erase and manual mode to 115,200 baud, load firmware, and we will try in first attempt to flash, so we'll see if we have an error about eventually the need to install a DFU compatible driver, but let's try directly. Okay, so it's flashing directly, so no problem. Okay, so programming successfully, so that's great. I will now disconnect the USB, reconnect it, okay, and press connect to see that everything is okay and sounds to be. So immediately check the current version, and we have the SP Racing F3 with 3.1.7. That's great, and no problem in terms of status. So let's check now all the settings we have to reconfigure. So things we have PWM connection, so no specific UART to turn on. If you decided to install more on SBus or iBus, you will have to turn on the corresponding UART where the receiver will be connected. So in terms of configuration, by default one-shot 125 is turned on, but we can select D-shot 600, okay, and select, for example, that 4% of the minimum throttle value, okay. No specific alignment because the F3 board is correctly installed, and we have, more important, to select the PWM RX input, okay, 1 wire per channel, that's pretty important, and we will try to monitor the V battery, even if I'm not sure that is currently connected, because actually we have nothing, but we will be able now to apply some more higher value for the loop PIDs, okay, at least 40 will be supported, and to turn off some information such a black box, a transponder, etc. So we will save and reboot. Okay, so it sounds to be good. By default drop for the Failsafe is down. I will reduce a little bit these values, save and reboot. Okay, and let's go to the PID settings. I will probably keep the default Betaflight 3.1.7 PID settings, maybe reduce a little bit the level strength for both angle and horizon mode to 30, but it's nothing special. And I will more play with my preferred rates. So here I like to have more something like this, and to increase a little bit to 800 degrees per second, and more here to have a linear response for the radar commands. So I have to apply something around 33 if I'm not wrong, but except that, it sounds pretty good. I will save that. Okay, and now to have the receiver, I have to turn on the battery and to turn on the transmitter. So I will turn on the quadcopter and now turn on the radio, and now as you can see I've got the channel, sounds to be, but not perfectly center. So I will re-enter into the setup, okay, to play with the subtrim to center everything. Okay, so it's done. So go to the setup, and you have to go to the subtrim channel, and as you can see for the channel 1, okay, which is probably the pitch and roll, okay. So I will play with the subtrim with the plus and minus. Okay, as you can see, now I'm perfectly centered. So I will go now, press OK to channel 2, the same to 1500, perfect. Press OK to go to the yaw, and I will probably press more with the down button. Which is more for the throttle, if I'm not wrong. Yes, seems to be. Okay, not perfectly centered, but anyway, I will more apply something around. Okay, and the other one sounds good, so I will press cancel to save. Okay, and now sounds pretty good. Okay, so I will apply in any case some deadband. Okay, for 4 ear and 4 ear. Press save. And now it's time to select the flight mode. So I will apply the angle mode with the aux1, which is our 3-way position horizon. Okay, and apply both air mode and anti-gravity for the horizon and acro. Okay, like this. I will also apply a bother button to the aux2. Okay, great. And apply. So now no problem, I can find localize my last machine in the field, and if you need, you can, for example, if you prefer, you can harm the machine with your last switch enabled. It's up to you, or prefer to harm like me with the default Betaflight setting with the throttle sticks. No other really information to adjust, no light, for example. Let's check the status of the system, and actually the CPU usage is only 28%, so maybe you can even push the loop to 8 kilos. Okay, so now everything sounds to be configured. Let's check a little bit the default BLE configurator. So I will press connect here. Now time to connect the battery. Okay, and press read setup. And we have almost the last ESC firmware installed. So if you want, you can turn on the brake and stop option. Okay, and but everything sounds pretty great. So press right setup, and everything sounds really up to date, at least in terms of BLES firmware. Welcome to the first demo flight of the Eachine Racer 250. So I installed the Mobius Mini. Okay, I had to adjust a little bit the cameraman to offer an up tilt as well for this action camera. Installed the 1100 4S LiPo battery, and the total weight without the Mobius Mini is 472 or 73 grams. So I had around 30 grams for the Mobius Mini. So I should be under 500 grams, or very close to. I will tilt a little bit the FPV camera. Unfortunately, not as strong as high I wanted, because due to the occlusion of the aluminum camera mount. Anyway, let's go. And really the main drawback, I would say, of this machine is the video transmitter connector. I am afraid after the first crash this one will break, or the probability is very high. So I don't know, maybe you will have to install more inside and make a drill inside the top canopy plate, is a carbon one, maybe to protect a little bit more. But definitively another solution should be found for this video transmitter connector. Okay, let's go. First in loss condition. Okay, so I will power the machine and immediately I will try to perform a Failsafe test with the new Betaflight version. So I will record here, if I can. Yes. Should, yes, flashing. So it's great. Turn on my video, the goggles, and yes, pretty cool. So I'm recording and I will start in 6-axis stabilized mode. So wow, it's pretty powerful. Oh my god, a lot of power despite close to 500 grams, and it sounds to be super well tuned with Betaflight. It's flying superbly. So the wind comes from the right, so it should be a little bit slower in this direction, but look, that is not noisy at all. Wow, these props are super efficient in terms of noise. Look at that, so silent. Okay, let's open. Oh my god, I like it. Really, it's a monster of power. Wow, the throttle starts to hovering at 30% despite the camera. Well, get the battery. Let's try attitude a little bit. Okay, let's see. Wow, flipping super well. Wow, it's a monster. Really great machine. Wow, incredible. That's a monster of power, definitively. Okay, let's go more in FPV.